The next day, the soldier woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. He couldn't continue living in uncertainty, allowing doubt and pain to consume his life. His wife, the woman he had loved with all his heart, might have hidden great secrets from him, truths he couldn't even imagine. The words of the strange woman at his wife's grave still haunted him. "She's not who you think she is." Those words were like a door opening, leading him into a journey he had never anticipated. He began seeking information from those who knew his wife's past well. The first step in this journey was to reach out to some of her old friends. People who had been close to her. People who understood her better than anyone else. But from the very first meeting, he realized that things weren't as simple as he had thought. His wife's best friend, who had always been the one to share secrets and concerns with her, now seemed to have changed. She refused to meet with him, citing being too busy. This made him feel something was wrong. He decided to approach her more directly, even pressing her to reveal the truth. Finally, after several unanswered calls, his wife's friend, named Sarah, agreed to meet him. She seemed hesitant and anxious when she saw him, but eventually, she reluctantly revealed part of the truth. She had been involved with someone else. "Someone I can't talk about," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "But I know. That relationship was very complicated and had a huge impact on her life. Not everyone could understand her." The soldier was stunned by Sarah's words. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. His wife, the woman he had lived with for so many years, had had an affair? He felt like everything he had known had collapsed. Every memory of her, every image he had cherished, suddenly felt blurry. Why had she kept this from him? Why had she never shared her struggles? The difficulties she had been enduring? He couldn't accept that the wife he thought was perfect had such a major secret. Sarah didn't dare to reveal more details, only saying one last thing that left the soldier even more confused. She loved him very much. But for some reason, they couldn't be together. He was a huge part of her life. And I think he caused her a lot of pain. The soldier couldn't accept this new information. He felt like he was standing in the middle of a fog, unsure of what was real and what had been hidden. What was that relationship? Who was this man? And why had he caused his wife so much pain that she couldn't share with him? Determined to find the truth, the soldier dug deeper. He followed the clues Sarah had left and continued his investigation into this man. After some time, he found this man's name in some old documents his wife had kept. And he discovered that this man was not only connected to his wife but also to a large and powerful organization. This was an organization with wide influence in politics, economics, and society, and this man could be an important player in that world. The sense of unease grew stronger within the soldier. He couldn't believe his wife had been involved in such a covert conflict. A war she couldn't speak about. He had been too naive, thinking she was just an ordinary wife, not connected to these dark forces out there. Each day that passed, the soldier felt more lost in his quest for the truth. The clues he gathered not only confused him but also pushed him into a world he had never known. The secrets that had been hidden for so long, now beginning to surface, were more disturbing than he had ever imagined. One of the most important discoveries the soldier made during his investigation was an old letter from his wife, hidden in a wooden box she had kept for many years. This letter was unlike any he had seen before. It wasn't filled with sweet words or promises that his wife had written during their courting days. Instead, it was full of warnings, written with anxiety, as though she had realized that danger was closing in. "He knows everything about us," his wife wrote in the letter. "Everything has gotten out of control. I can't protect us anymore. If anything happens to me, you need to understand that it's all because I wanted to protect our family. Don't let him destroy what we have." These words left the soldier speechless. He couldn't understand why his wife had written such things, and why she had kept such a huge secret from him. Why had she been so worried? Who was she referring to in this letter? Was the man she had been involved with the same one who had caused so much pain in her life? What confused him even further was that this letter wasn't the only document he found. Other papers, including some contracts and documents with unclear markings, seemed to be linked to an organization his wife had been working with. An organization he had never heard of, but which seemed far from ordinary. It was a group with power and influence across many areas. from politics to illegal activities that the soldier could not even begin to imagine. The soldier tried to piece the fragments together. From these documents, he began to realize that his wife was not just an innocent bystander. She had been involved in a game of power, one that he had never known about. She had not only been a victim, but also played a role in a larger strategy, one that may have led to her death. Determined to understand more, the soldier continued to approach people who had worked with his wife in the past. In a meeting with a close friend of hers, he learned another painful truth. The friend, a man named Hung, admitted that his wife had worked for a company connected to the same organization. It turned out that she wasn't just caught up in underground relationships, but was also working under the surveillance of this man, someone the soldier had never met before. "You can't understand," Hung said, his voice full of concern. "She had to endure so much. She tried to escape, but the price was too high. She couldn't protect her family without getting tangled in dangerous dealings. I didn't want you to know, but she did things you can't imagine." Hung's words were like another shock to the soldier. His wife, the woman he loved, the woman he thought had lived a pure and simple life, had been part of something dark and dangerous. He was starting to realize that she hadn't just been a victim, but possibly a piece in a larger plot within this organization. Her relationship with this man wasn't just a romantic affair. It was part of a strategy, a tactic in a dangerous game that she had been forced to play for the sake of her family's survival. Unable to stop now, the soldier decided to dig even deeper into the trail left by Hung and continue his investigation into this man. He was determined to find the truth. No matter what, he had to understand the secrets his wife had kept hidden, and why they had led her down such a dangerous path. As he continued, he uncovered more about this organization, realizing that his wife's involvement had far-reaching consequences, ones that would affect. As each day passed, the soldier felt more and more lost in his quest for the truth. The clues he gathered not only confused him but also pushed him into a world he had never known before. The secrets that had been hidden for so long, now starting to surface, were more disturbing than anything he had ever imagined. After his encounter with the man in the cafe, the soldier felt his suspicions about his wife becoming clearer. The hints about the man she had loved, who had changed her and made her live in fear, pushed him to keep searching. It felt like everything he had known about her was a fragile shell, unable to hide the deeper, darker secrets beneath. One of the most significant discoveries he found during his investigation was an old letter from his wife, hidden away in a wooden box she had kept for years. This letter was different from anything he had seen before. It wasn't filled with sweet words or promises like the letters she had written him during their time together. Instead, it was filled with warnings, lines filled with anxiety, as though she had realized the danger was closing in. "He knows everything about us," his wife had written in the letter. "Everything has spiraled out of control. I can't protect us anymore. If anything happens to me, you must understand it's because I wanted to protect our family. Don't let him destroy what we have." These words stunned the soldier. He couldn't comprehend why his wife would write such things, and why she had kept such a big secret from him. Why was she so concerned? Who was she referring to in this letter? Was the man she had been involved with the same one who had caused so much pain in her life? What confused him even more was that the letter wasn't the only piece of evidence he had uncovered. He found other documents, including some contracts and papers with obscure markings, all pointing to an organization his wife had been working with, an organization he had never heard of but which was anything but ordinary. It was a group with power and influence spanning many fields: politics, economics, and even illegal activities the soldier couldn't fully grasp. The soldier struggled to piece everything together. From these documents, he began to realize that his wife was not just a victim. She had been caught up in a game of power, one that he had been completely unaware of. She hadn't just been a bystander, she had played a role in a much larger strategy, one that could very well have led to her death. Determined to understand more, the soldier began reaching out to others who had worked closely with his wife. In a meeting with one of her friends, he uncovered another painful truth. The friend, a man named Hung, admitted that his wife had worked for a company that was linked to this organization. It turned out that she wasn't just involved in covert affairs but had also been working under the supervision of the man he had never met. "You don't understand," Hung said, his voice full of concern. She had to endure so much. She tried to break free. But the cost was too high. She couldn't protect her family without getting involved in dangerous affairs. I didn't want to tell you. But she did things you can't even imagine. Hung's words hit the soldier like a ton of bricks. The woman he loved, the woman he thought had lived a simple, clean life, had been part of something dark and dangerous. He was beginning to realize that she hadn't just been a victim, she had been a part of a larger scheme within this organization. Her relationship with the man wasn't just a romantic affair, it was a strategy. Part of a dangerous game that she had to play in order to protect her family. Unable to turn back now, the soldier made the decision to go even further. He would follow the leads Hung had left and continue his investigation into the man. He needed to understand the truth. No matter how painful, he had to know why his wife had kept these secrets from him. And how they had led her into such peril. As he dug deeper, he discovered more about the organization his wife had been involved with. And realized that it had far-reaching consequences that extended beyond their family, consequences that could affect everyone she had ever loved. The soldier began to feel the weight of a battle he had never prepared for. From the initial discoveries, the more he dug into his wife's past, the more complicated everything became. Each step of the journey pulled him further away from what he had once believed. And now, as the truth neared, he realized that his wife was not just a victim in a larger conspiracy, she had been a part of a much greater game. One she could never escape from. He decided to confront the man his wife had loved, the one she had kept hidden from him for all these years. The words from their old friends and the documents he had gathered pointed to the fact that this man had ties not just to his wife, but to powers beyond anything he had ever imagined. Not everyone could enter this world and walk away unscathed, and the soldier knew that he was heading into something far more dangerous than he had ever anticipated. After days of searching and asking around, he finally arranged a meeting with this man, the man who had been so closely connected to his wife, who had connections to a powerful organization. His name was Min, and although the soldier had never heard of him before, everything he had heard, and all the clues he had found, indicated that Min was the key to unraveling everything. The meeting took place in a small, secluded house on the outskirts of the city. The soldier couldn't shake the tension in the air as he walked inside. He had prepared himself for this moment, but the nervousness still gnawed at him. Min didn't seem afraid, instead, he sat there calmly as if he knew everything was coming. "What do you want from me?" Min asked, his voice steady, but filled with hidden meanings. The soldier didn't beat around the bush. "I want the truth. About my wife. Why did she have to live in fear? Why did she hide everything from me? You're the one who can answer all of my questions." Min looked at him, his eyes revealing a deeper understanding. "You don't get it. She didn't have a choice. And now, neither do you. What she did to protect you. But if you want to know the truth, you're going to have to face it. And once you do, there's no turning back." The soldier felt a chill run down his spine as Min's words sank in. He knew he was about to uncover something darker than he could have imagined. But he had come this far, and there was no going back now. Min continued, his tone becoming colder. "She was part of an organization that you can't even begin to understand. We're not the bad guys you think we are. But we needed her sacrifice to keep the people she loved safe. And when she tried to break free, it was too late." Everything was starting to fall into place. But at the same time, the soldier was overwhelmed by a sense of betrayal. His wife, the woman he had loved, had been part of something far larger. Something dark and dangerous. Something he could never have imagined. The organization wasn't just political, it was global. With influence over countries, economies, and even the lives of ordinary people. Min smiled, as though he had expected the soldier's shock. She didn't have the luxury of choice. She did everything for her family. And when she tried to leave, the price was her life. The soldier stood there, stunned, unable to process the words. His mind raced, trying to piece together the pieces of this horrifying puzzle. His wife had been involved in something far beyond his comprehension. Something that ultimately cost her life. And now, it seemed like this man, Min, had been the catalyst of it all. The truth was more than he could bear. The soldier's emotions were torn between a desire for revenge and a need for closure. But in that moment, he understood something crucial. His wife had been forced into this world to protect him and their family. She had sacrificed everything, even her own life, so that they could live in peace. And now, he was left to face the consequences. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Min stood up and motioned for the soldier to wait. When he opened the door, a group of men in black suits entered. They didn't speak, but their presence was heavy with authority and menace. The soldier immediately realized that he wasn't just dealing with Min, he was dealing with the entire organization. The very people who had pulled his wife into their game. "You can't walk away now," Min said, turning back to the soldier. "You've learned too much, and we can't let you leave." The soldier's heart pounded. He realized that if he didn't act fast, he might never escape. His only option was to make a run for it. In a split second, the soldier bolted for the window, shattering the glass and leaping out into the night. The cold wind hit him as he landed on the ground. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. The chase was on, and now he was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. No matter the cost. The cold night air cut through the soldier's skin as he dashed through the empty streets. His heart racing. The sense of freedom, though fleeting, was a brief escape from the overwhelming tension that had built up around him. But he knew this moment of relief wouldn't last. After smashing the window and jumping out, he could hear the sounds of footsteps behind him, growing closer by the second. They were after him. There was no way he could escape them for long. As he sprinted down the dimly lit alleyways, his thoughts swirled with the horrifying truths he had just learned. His wife, the woman he had loved more than anything, had been caught in a world of darkness, a web of dangerous people and a deadly game he had never known existed. But why had she never told him? Why hadn't she trusted him with the truth? And why hadn't she shared the weight of this burden with him? The one person she had vowed to spend her life with? The soldier paused to catch his breath, hidden behind an old, crumbling building. His body was exhausted, and his mind was clouded by the overwhelming realization that everything he had believed was now shattered. His wife hadn't just been hiding secrets from him, she had been living a life that he couldn't even begin to understand. A life filled with fear, manipulation, and ultimate sacrifice. As he leaned against the wall, trying to steady his breathing, he heard a soft voice behind him. "Did you think you could escape, soldier?" He spun around, his eyes narrowing. There, standing in the shadows, was the strange woman who had cried at his wife's grave. She was staring at him with an almost knowing look, as if she had been waiting for this moment. The soldier's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice a mixture of anger and confusion. "Why do you know all of this? Why were you at my wife's grave?" The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "I'm the one she trusted when she couldn't trust anyone else," she said softly, almost with a sense of sadness. "I'm the one who knew the truth that you've been trying to uncover." The soldier's mind reeled. This woman knew his wife's deepest secrets. She was connected to the same world of darkness. But why had she approached him? What did she want from him now? I don't understand," he whispered, his voice faltering. "Why are you telling me all of this?" The woman's eyes softened, and she took a step closer. "Because you need to know, soldier. You need to know the whole truth. You need to understand why your wife did what she did. Why she kept everything from you." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "Your wife didn't die by accident. It was part of a larger plan. A plan that she was forced into. And now, you're part of it too." The soldier's heart skipped a beat. "A plan? What are you talking about? What did she do?" The woman's face became serious, her voice barely above a whisper. "She made the ultimate sacrifice, so that you and your family would be protected. She didn't want you to suffer. She didn't want you to be dragged into this world of shadows and lies. But now you are, and there's no turning back." The soldier was stunned. Every question, every fragment of information he had gathered up to this point had led him to this moment. The death of his wife, her secret life, her sacrifice, it was all part of a much larger, more dangerous game than he had ever imagined. He couldn't understand it all. Not yet, but he had come too far to stop now. His wife had made her choice. But now, he had to make his. The truth she had hidden from him was out in the open. But the consequences of that truth were just beginning to unfold. As the woman turned to walk away, she glanced over her shoulder at him. "You won't be able to undo what's been done, soldier." But you can still make a choice. You can either walk away and forget all of this, or you can fight. The choice is yours." With those final words, she disappeared into the night, leaving the soldier standing alone in the dark, caught between the past and the future, unsure of what his next move would be. The soldier stood still, the words of the woman echoing in his mind. He felt the weight of everything pressing down on him, the truth, the betrayal, the sacrifice his wife had made. And yet, amidst the confusion, one thing became clear. He couldn't just walk away. He couldn't let his wife's death, her sacrifices, and the secrets she had kept from him be in vain. He took a deep breath, his mind racing. The choice was now in his hands. The past few days had turned his life upside down. But now, he knew what he had to do. He had to fight, not just for the truth, but for the legacy his wife had left behind, for the family she had wanted to protect. The woman had said there was no turning back. But that wasn't the soldier's way. He had always been someone who fought for what he believed in. And he wasn't going to let the shadows of his wife's life consume him. He had to face this new reality. No matter how terrifying it was, he would take down the organization she had been forced into. He would expose the truth, not just for himself, but for everyone his wife had loved and protected. He turned and began walking down the alley, the cold wind biting at his skin. His mind was made up. He would find the people responsible for his wife's death. He would confront them, and he would bring their secrets to light. But as he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every step he took seemed to draw him deeper into a web of danger. He was no longer just fighting for his wife's memory, he was fighting for his own survival. The soldier knew that the path ahead would not be easy. He was going to face people who had power and influence beyond anything he could have imagined. But he was ready. He had nothing left to lose. The fight for the truth had already begun. And he would see it through, no matter the cost. Days passed, and the soldier's search for answers grew more intense. He contacted people who had once been close to his wife, following leads, piecing together fragments of information. Each step brought him closer to understanding the scope of the conspiracy she had been involved in. One night, he received a phone call. It was from Min, the man who had once been part of the organization his wife had worked for. The call was brief, but its implications were staggering. "I know what you're trying to do," Min said, his voice cold, "but you need to understand something. The organization you're up against is far more dangerous than you can imagine. You don't know what you're dealing with. People who cross them, they don't survive." The soldier's heart raced. He knew this was his breaking point. He had already come too far to turn back. But now, with the threat growing closer, he realized the enormity of the situation. "I'm not afraid of them," the soldier replied, his voice steady. "I will expose them, and I will make sure my wife's sacrifice wasn't in vain." There was silence on the other end of the line, followed by a quiet chuckle from Min. "You don't know what you're walking into. But if you're determined, then prepare yourself. There's no turning back now." The soldier hung up, his resolve hardening. He wasn't about to back down. His wife had fought, and now it was his turn. He would confront the organization head on, and he would make sure they paid for what they had done. The soldier knew the final confrontation was coming. The pieces of the puzzle were all in place. He had uncovered enough evidence to bring the organization to its knees. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed help. He reached out to the woman who had revealed the truth to him. The one who had known his wife's deepest secrets. She had been a part of this dangerous world. But now, he needed her guidance. Together, they planned their next move. They knew it wouldn't be easy. The people they were up against were ruthless, with connections that reached deep into the highest levels of power. But the soldier was no longer the man he had been. He had transformed into something else. Someone willing to do whatever it took to uncover the truth and bring justice to those who had been wronged. The night of the final confrontation arrived. The soldier and the woman infiltrated the heart of the organization, a place where no one had dared to go before. The tension in the air was palpable as they made their way through the heavily guarded facility. Every step brought them closer to the heart of the conspiracy, and closer to the truth that would destroy everything the organization had built. But as they reached their destination, the soldier felt the weight of the decisions he had made. This was the moment of reckoning. There would be no going back. The doors opened, and he stepped inside. the leader of the organization, the man who had pulled his wife into this world, was waiting for him. Their eyes met, and the soldier could feel the intensity of the moment. This was it. The battle for the truth was about to begin.